Okay, well, let's get started. Thanks for joining. Welcome, everybody. We're down here at sunny Chewton, Glen. I'm here with Lisa Lernoux-Dock from Iconic Hotels, and Chewton Glen being, what's it, your flagship property?
Yeah, the first, the mothership.
The mothership, they call it the mothership. For those who don't know, I'm Bill from TCE Group, and we're at DMC, in groups internationally for 17 years to the UK for incentive groups and so forth. And we've worked with groups from over 40 countries, going all over the UK. It used to be mostly London, but lately it's been much more across the UK. And some of you will know, about 18 months ago, I started an initiative called Staycentive, which was kind of like staycations, but for business and for incentives. And the driver behind this was that there were quite a lot of advantages to using the UK as an incentive destination, but it hadn't really been marketed to UK companies as a potential destination. Their natural inclination had been to head to the south and go to the sun and go abroad. And I figured if we can create great programs in this country for German clients and Dutch clients and Belgian clients, I'm sure we could do the same for British clients. And there are a lot of really good advantages for doing stuff in the UK, as we'll show later. But obviously COVID has changed all this, and this is now an idea whose time has really arrived. And it's starting to believe me now that this might be a good idea. Nikki Litchell's on here with us from Destinations Unlimited, and they're representing us now in the UK, the first UK DMC that they've had in promoting this Staycentive. So most of the people we've got here are from DMOs and destination suppliers around the country, because we just wanted to talk about what the advantages are for destinations and the advantages are for clients if they can manage to hold their events in the UK instead of going overseas. A lot of these are much more obvious now than they were a year ago. And the thing is as well, the first thing is that you're busy down here. I mean, you're rammed at the moment, aren't you, with staycations?
I mean, we're always usually busy during the school holidays in August, but now, I mean, this year with so many people not being able to go abroad, but
You've been able to put the prices up.
Well, that too. But anyways, but mainly, and we're getting everything. You just asked what kind of people are getting down here. I mean, now traditionally it'd be London, but families, people from all across the country. And I think, but it really does have everything. I mean, we kid around because we're right here on the Solent. We call it the Costa del Solente, but you get almost everything that you could get in a overseas holiday, really.
And of course you can afford.
Lisa, Bill, you're going to need to speak up a little bit over the background noise.
Okay. And one of the advantages, of course, of coming here is you haven't got flights to pay for.
Yeah.
Which makes a massive difference.
Well, absolutely. And that's one thing. I mean, before all this hit, I mean, the flights were becoming an issue with the sustainability. And now the last thing anyone wants to do is go to an airport, really. So
I think that was certainly true last year. You could see that flying was starting to become a bit of a no-no. And, this is much more important for brands, because it doesn't look good for a brand if they're polluting the atmosphere, so that was coming in. So there's a little kind of, not everybody really understands what incentive travel necessarily is, but this is something, a tool that in their marketing and their sales that big brands use to inspire, to motivate, to reward, and to recognize people. This isn't necessarily, there has been some changes in the market recently, that it is not just about selling, although that still is the number one reason for people running incentive programs. Improving productivity is the number two reason, building brands and effecting change management and nurturing relationships and getting brand messages across. It's not a free holiday. That was on this page. Not a free holiday. And if you were given the choice of going away on an incentive with some people that you work with to Venice on a particular date that suited the company, or you were given £5,000 to go wherever you want with whoever you want, you'd take the money. I mean, anybody but an idiot. But it's not just about the money. The company has some brand objectives. And this is the important thing when looking at this incentive market for the first time, is that it's not just about the great experience for the guests. It's about achieving the company's objectives and what value can be offered to them.
And we found a lot lately too, because it's not exactly like you say. It's not just about traditional incentives where it's, if you achieve this, you can get this. A lot of it is true, pure reward, because there's so many companies out there that are still doing very well or have done very well through this, but their whole workforce is now working from home, and they want something that'll bring people together, a shared experience. And, so it's a reward for all the time that they've had to been working for, home and maybe working extra. So they want to give them something, but they want to bring the team together.
Yeah, exactly. So, and that's more so than ever now, because Zoom, we're on Zoom now, and when 6 months ago, it's Zoom's amazing. It's all wonderful. Now, we're all getting a bit Zoom fatigue. There's just a couple of trends here which are relevant to this as well. So the number one thing is that in the last 10 years, we have seen a lot more long haul groups coming from Asia and South America. And the significance of that is that they haven't all just stayed in London. If they're coming for 10 days, they're doing 3 days in London and a week outside of London. So there's a lot more business been going outside of London than before. So that's the effect of that. And another really significant difference that we've seen is that a much higher preponderance of women participants. 10 years ago, on an average incentive, it would have been 90% men, 10% women. The last two big incentives we did, one was from Israel, one was from Singapore. We had 70% women delegates on each of those two things. So a lot of women working in sales now, and they don't feel so comfortable about going away. They don't feel so comfortable about being a long way away from their children for long periods. Obviously, some of them feel very comfortable about that, and obviously generally encourage it, as have men traditionally. So these traditional incentives of going away with the lads on a laddish type thing doesn't necessarily follow them. And doing stuff in the UK when you haven't got flights to pay for means the advantage for the clients is they can involve families and partners much more effectively. The benefits to destinations and to suppliers and partners are significant. So the first one now is early booking. Obviously, an incentive program will typically be booked at least 6 months in advance, maybe 3 months, but certainly a lot further in advance than leisure travelers would be at the moment. For a destination, because it's groups, there's a lower cost of sales because you've only got, for a group of 50, you're only making one sale instead of having to make 25 sales. It's generally high revenue, and it's generally revenue that's in the shoulder and low season when it's harder to get, and midweek, when it's harder to get business. So it's got a lot of value to it. And it benefits a wide range of suppliers. I'll show some numbers in a minute, but generally one property doesn't hold the whole solution. It benefits a lot of hospitality and other businesses in that area. And it's opinion forming. The incentive travelers lead and leisure travelers come afterwards.
Absolutely.
So here's some of the numbers. So this is just the stuff on the international clients we've had. So the average stay is 3 nights. Average spend is £2,000 per person. The average group size is 50. Average lead time is 9 months, can be up to 2 years, can be down to 3 months. And the average number of suppliers on each program is 30. By the time you've got transportation people in, guides in, dinners in, entertainment, it benefits a lot of people. And the busiest times for that travel are sort of May, June, and September, which are sort of shoulder season around for other people. So it's worth chasing that business. So the opportunity for this to create a Staycentive initiative and imperative is there for all to see. At the moment, business coming from the UK, within the UK, has a higher value because there are no international visitors coming, if any significant numbers. Traveling overseas for UK companies isn't really an option at the moment, and I don't think anybody is planning anything even for next year at this point. It's too risky at the moment to know what that will look like and what that will be involved. So UK companies are looking at destinations within this country, if they're looking at all. And actually, it is a slightly harder sell because we have to get across to them the idea that they can achieve their business objectives by doing events without actually having to leave the country. If anybody has any questions or want to join in or jump in on anything here, just stick your hand up or put it in the chat box and say the answer.
I think one other point with this too is I think sometimes, any real traditional incentive, it's not so much, they don't really sell the hotel. I mean, that's what I even try to get, because I started out life as a DMC, and you can take the girl out of the DMC, but you can't take the DMC out of the girl. So I always think in terms of selling the destination, selling the venue, selling the overall experience, and then you sell the hotel. And I think that's where hotels do get unstuck, because they think it's all about just having it there. And there's some amazing experiences. And now that's even changed too. A lot of research has been found about new incentive. You know, it used to be more motivated by the replacement holiday. I mean, that's what sell, you know, you have a massive sales force and you say, oh, we're all going to Cancun or whatever. But now it really is, with the new generations coming in, it's more about the actual experience. I mean, people have been using that word for years, but it is about these Instagrammable moments, things that, you know, really, and there's so many opportunities to create amazing programs like that. And I think even keeping it in the UK, it's like bringing people to places that they didn't even realize, or experiences they didn't even realize they could have in their own country. And also the CSR element too. I mean, some of the other things that seem to be big, you know, motivators now, one is wellness, one is sustainability, but taking the sustainability on into the CSR, people like to include some kind of element that has some kind of aspect of giving back. And Bill made a very good point. We were talking about it earlier, that I mean, I think sometimes we've had people coming to Chewton Glen where they've said, oh, we want to do something CSR, sustainable. I think in their mind, they think they're going to go out and build a school someplace. But this is Hampshire. It's not, you know, South Africa. So, but if they get, we can create great experiences locally where they get involved with a local charity. And because they're in the same country, they can maintain a relationship with that charity. It's not like a one-time shot and then they're gone.
Yeah. This has been an issue, hasn't it, in Africa, where people have gone out on the incentive programs. We've seen it. We're all probably aware of it. Built a school and then left, and they haven't left any money for teachers to run the school, you know, or for books or whatever. And there are sort of empty schools around. But yeah, this is something the brand can have an ongoing relationship with that. Actually, I think the other thing around wellness, which is an interesting, I think what is going to be another major trend is mental health.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And people's mental health under the circumstances that we've been in now, and also working from home, you know, not being connected to their teams and stuff is an issue.
Yeah, and on the sustainability front too. I mean, and it's everything. People want to be more connected. They like the idea of the local sourcing of food, local, you know, and it's that whole kind of reconnecting.
So the 10 reasons we're proposing to clients why they should be looking at the UK as their incentive destination. And these were done before COVID, actually. So I've kept them pre-COVID because hopefully COVID won't be here forever. But even if it does, it stands up without that. So obviously cost is a major thing, you know, and you don't have flights to pay for. You're saving significant amounts of money. You're saving time and traveling, getting there and back. And this gives you lots of options if you're saving on cost to invest in other ways, i.e., you know, it's not much more expensive to make it available for couples instead of just the delegates that have won. If you don't have to pay for flights, and if husbands and wives are prepared to share a room with each other.
No. Yeah,
generally
don't go too far,
generally. So obviously cost is a natural, obvious one. Safety and security. You know, we're putting COVID under that at the moment there, but you know, that's very relevant now, being in control of your environment and knowing where you are. And I think this is something that is going to be relevant as well in terms of that controlling your environment in the COVID world. This is why I think city hotels are going to struggle more with this than country house hotels, exclusive use of smaller properties where you are in control of everything that's in your environment. So safety and security in all sorts of levels. It's not just about being COVID safe. If you have an accident, if you break your ankle or something, you feel much more comfortable being within the NHS, you know, in your own country than you would feel if you were away. Time traveling, you know, I mean, most places you're traveling a day either side of a trip makes it more difficult. And the longer the trip is, the harder it is to get good delegates and good people to come, and the less attractive that you make it. So, I mean, time savings are important because there isn't that much. Traveling used to be fun itself, didn't it? Going to the airport and getting on a plane used to be a great experience, but it's just public transport now, isn't it? I mean, it's not as much of an exciting thing as it used to be. Queuing up and security and so forth. Environmental issues we've touched on. Obviously, you're not polluting the atmosphere by flying. Air travel is one of the major pollutants still left out there that they're struggling to tackle. And there are other benefits environmentally, which is you know where everything is sourced. It can be locally sourced. Touched on before, again, family inclusive. And this has been a big thing. It's a big thing in corporate hospitality as well as incentives that involving the family. You know, this is where time is precious and people are working harder. Obviously, working from home, you should probably want to leave the family behind, but that is branding. It's kind of interesting branding because obviously if you're going to Venice, Venice becomes the brand of the trip, and you have less control than you do if you're doing something in the UK, where you can involve a lot more people. You can involve your branding people, your agency, and you can brand a lot more here, and the whole every element of the trip. So that is important to clients because they are talking about getting across brand messages.
And back to the branding too, because so many companies are trying to be, at least appear to be, champions of sustainability. But like all these things of like, you know, if you're going to talk the talk, you got to walk the walk. So that reflects on their branding as well. If they're seen as jetting off to wherever, but if they're seen as staying within the UK, even now, more so now, supporting the local economy and plus the environmental aspects, it reflects on their brand.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And that runs to relevance as well. You know, I mean, like we were saying earlier, the reasons that people are doing change management. We did a thing with Visit Manchester a couple of years ago, and we had a picture there. Actually, it was more than a couple of years ago because it was a picture there of Alex Ferguson's last season as manager of Manchester United, and then winning the Premiership that season. There was a picture of them celebrating on the pitch, and a year later, there was only 2 people still left at Manchester United. The team had changed, the management team had changed, and all these things are changing. So you're talking about change management, you're talking about industry, you're talking about creativity, you're talking about productivity. These are much more relevant to UK destinations than they are, again, to our fabled beach in Mauritius, you know, which doesn't really get those points across to you. It's just a holiday, you know, and so that's an important part of it. Tremendous range of sports and cultural events and social events in the UK, and I often think that you need to be able to describe. Pitching an incentive program is a bit like pitching a movie. You know, you have to be able to say it in a sentence. You have to say, well, we're going to go to Wimbledon. You know, we did lots of other things around it, but we're going to the Wimbledon tennis, or we're going to the Derby, or we're going to Royal Ascot, or there's many things you can do. So there are lots of these things which are really aspirational and which are really interesting, that are happening across the country, that you can build an incentive program around. And I imagine there's more here than there are anywhere else. And again, innovation, there are more opportunities to be innovative. And just the fact that you are creating an amazing program within the UK when people wouldn't have thought of doing that in the past demonstrates your innovativeness and your creativity, which is something that people want to get across. And of course, again, this is particularly important in the particular time. You're supporting the UK economy, you know, when we need it the most. We all need it the most. Our industry has been suffering more than most. Hospitality in this country has had a terrible time. It has everywhere, but you know, people do feel that supporting the UK economy is a good thing to do.
And
so
that'd be a really strong message going forward.
Yeah, so these are the 10 things that we're pushing out to the clients. 10 really good reasons why you should be doing your events in the UK, your incentive programs. So there needs to be some adaptations as well with this, because it has to be aspirational. And one thing that suppliers and venues and hotels do have to be aware of, once you get that there are different service levels here to the expectations of a leisure traveller. You know, you do have to have it's a different kind of service level, to be fair. Not necessarily better, not even necessarily higher, but there are different levels of service that have.
Well, actually, I think in some ways that the expectation of an incentive is, depending on the level of property, but the expectation of an incentive is probably maybe closer to a leisure traveler than the big group, the big conference. You know what I mean? It's a different. So to me, I mean, when we say, I always say everyone's a VIP, and a group here is just a bunch of VIPs that know each other. Because, I mean, just with us, our guests are, everybody wants what they want when they want it. So to us, a group is more, whereas I think it's a different expectation if it's a big conference, if it's 100 people.
For sure,
it's not that individual, it's not an individual experience.
No, it's not. But there are certain things that you require for an incentive group that you wouldn't do for leisure travelers. So we've had it with country house hotels, where generally, if they're all arriving at the same time, you need more people handling baggage, delivering bags to the room, that kind of thing, and they will pay for it.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, with leisure travellers, they're not all arriving on the same day and all leaving on the same day. They're leaving, you know, they're arriving over, what is it, 1/3 arriving every day, probably on average. You know? Whereas when you've got them all arriving within an hour of each other, You need to manage check-in. You need to manage delivering bags to the room, if porterage, if that's what you're doing, differently. So that's understanding. It's just kind of a different service level. And number two, the clients will pay for this. We did an agreement to Cornwall last year, which to a hotel that's primarily leisure travellers. The client didn't like the colour of the cushions in the reception area. So they said, could they change them? And the hotel pushed back on this. Well, why? What's wrong with the car? Nothing wrong. We just don't like it. We'll pay for new cushions. You can keep the cushions afterwards or phone, but we want to bring our own cushions. And they did, So you just, the client, it's not the hotel thought this was about cost. And it wasn't. It was just about the client's preference. So you have to kind of understand that. So some training is probably going to be required. It's also important that the client's brand values are reflected in the property, which goes to sustainability as well. It might go to supporting local businesses and local produce and so on and so forth. There are specialist services required, actually, in terms of activities and stuff. They will be different, and a lot of different suppliers. Somebody needs to pull all that together, he said, backing himself. But that's what we do. We pull a lot of suppliers together to create a program. And understanding where each venue and supplier fits in that program, understanding where that lunch is as the program and what the time restraints are on it. And also, most importantly, suppliers, we all have to understand what the client's objectives are, which is not necessarily the same as the delegates' objectives. Very often the delegates' objective is to get as much booze down their neck as they can on on their company's account or whatever, and to have as much fun as they possibly can. Whereas actually the client is trying to do something else. He's trying to sell more insurance or sell more cars or sell more pharmaceuticals or whatever. So the routes to market, these are through third-party relationships, agency networks, direct to corporates, a joined up approach because it will involve lots of suppliers, so they have to work together to create this program through PR, digital marketing messages. So we are doing a major campaign on this, which is starting. And the reason we're talking to guys like you first is because we want to make sure that the influencers, the people understand what we're doing and are behind this and supportive of the idea that this is a thing. Created a thing. Staycations weren't a thing a few years ago. They are now. Staycentives, we're hoping they become a thing. So we're offering some audits of the thing. We're trying to get support, and we're trying to talk to people more about this. We've got some case studies. We've got some assistance in creating marketing plans, briefing sessions. But we are creating this program. We are taking this kind of thing out to market. That really is all we wanted to say. Keep it brief. It's Friday afternoon. I know everyone's anxious to get down to. Did we have any comments or questions on this? Sadie, Sarah, are you there?
Yep, we're still here. There's no chats as of yet, but if anyone has any questions, feel free to throw them in or put them in the chat.
Or just shut out.
Yeah.
Just speak up. Nikki, speak.
Hi, so I was on mute. I know what I was going to ask you actually. I was going to say to you, it'd be really good to get some can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I've got a question. It'd be really good to get some sort of itinerary, like we said to you, some itineraries together to get out to clients of what you can offer and things. That'd be great.
Yeah, and this is what we need to work on with each region, because we need some sample programs or ideas for every region. So yeah, that's so it would be great. People we've got people from all different DMOs around the country here that we want to work with them to create some of these programs, that we can put out some sample programs to see what you can do, because I have no doubt that we can create a great program anywhere in London, even for a Londoner. We can create a great program in Nottingham or Bedford or in Hampshire, anywhere. But we just need to sort of have this idea of helping put together what a program looks like. Because I think that's useful for everybody. Because this is about programs and ideas. It's not about hotels and venues, as Lisa was saying. Because this is a bit more.
It's bigger than that. It's bigger than
because on an incentive, every minute of the program has to be accounted for from the moment they arrive to the moment they leave. All of that needs to be working for the client.
And it's more about partnership.
Because you can't. No one venue or hotel provides. But that's not true. I mean, they might do. I mean, you might provide a hotel in a resort hotels such as this, but generally,
Yeah.
no one supplier, no one hotel, no one venue supplies a total solution to what the clients want to do.
We live like around your way, Lee, so it's like you've got so many things you can do around Chewton, Glen way, and then it's like you've got do you know what I mean? There's so many different ideas you can put out there and promote out that people just don't know about.
Yeah, and people forget. I mean, they you know, here in the forest, they forget that in the forest, that from here, you know, you're a 10-minute walk to the beach.
I'm half an hour from you now. I haven't been to Chewton Glen for about 4 years.
You know, and you can do the sailing and the power, you know.
But also, this was part of a group. You can't do. We had a group here once, a long time ago now, actually. But they were French, but they were interested. We taught them about cricket, so we got a couple of Hampshire cricketers to come down and some cricket lessons. Well, you know, if you did that as an individual, it wouldn't be the same kind of experience, would it? You know, but you need to do that as part of it, become a shared experience, and that's the thing. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's all we want.
I think there is some questions.
There's one more question, Bill. It's what format do you want the programmes in from Grant?
So what format?
Yeah, what format do you want the programmes in?
I think what we want is some ideas that hang together rather than just say day 1, day 2, day 3. I think just like on either Word or PowerPoint, whatever, just here's some ideas of the things that you may not know about. So I know Grant is going to be in the Lake District area, which is an area with great potential up there, what you can do. But, you know, it's okay saying go to the Lake District, it'll be great. But you need to have more specifics than that, don't you, to take that out. So where in the Lake District, which lakes are good for what activities you can do there. It's a great foodie area there as well.
Well, one thing we've done, I know you've seen this, I mean, for all our hotels. So again, not just to be about the hotel, we've created kind of an event brochure for each one of our hotels, but they're not event brochures in the typical, you know, where they say, oh, you can do duck herding and it's this and blah, blah, blah. It's more just paragraphs about concepts, about what we can do here, but also what's in the area. Yeah. Just you can go out in the Solent, or you could go out in the forest, or, you know, in the Cotswolds, you can go for a walk, or you can go to the Morgan Car Factory, just because people don't really, you know, you think everyone knows the whole country, but they don't. No, and
it needs to pick out things. I mean, at IMEX, we've all been to IMEX probably, and you walk around there and DMCs talk to you. And if somebody says to me once in a day, they say it 10 times every single day, and you can have dinner in a castle, which is something you can have dinner in a castle pretty much anywhere you go. You know? So it's not enough to have dinner in a castle, is it? There has to be a reason to have dinner in a castle, and that's where the sample stuff comes in. Grant, say, why would you have dinner in this castle? You know, what's the so because you're trying to get some kind of messages across, not just because it can be done. It's not enough to make it an imperative to say, yeah, I really want to do that. But I think we have more options here than many other places, to be honest with you. You know, and you know, from Cornwall to Edinburgh to the middle of the country to the south coast, you know, it's just to the cities, to Liverpool. Before the lockdown, we were doing from internationally, we were doing one incentive group a month into Liverpool.
Well, really?
Yeah. And you know, lots of stuff around it, because the football club actually has raised the profile, because not just because of their success, but because of the personality of their manager and the personality of the way the team plays and so forth, and the Beatles and stuff. So there is, you know, there's also lots of stuff going on there, and it's close to the Lake District as well, and North Wales and the zip wires and the activity stuff there.
But that's one thing I've always thought. I mean, from being, you know, not from these parts originally, I mean, the first few times I went to the Lake District, I used to always think that every time I go up, thinking this would be the most amazing, and if someone really took this on, to do the most amazing incentive program up there.
Yeah,
you've just never been to the Lake District ever. Ever.
It's full of lakes, Nikki.
Yeah.
I know, I gathered that, but I've never been, so there we go. Because I'm more traveling abroad.
It was like being in a completely, you know, it was like being in a different country. I mean,
but it's the stage there, isn't it? So you say to someone, to a client, look, the Lake District is beautiful. They say, great, how would it work? You know, they want to see what you could do. What would you? And you just need to throw some ideas, sell the experience, and then talk about the money afterwards.
But there again, things like wellness and sustainability, all those things tie in with a destination like this. And you could bring in amazing speakers, and was it Wainwright?
I think mental health is going to be a massive thing, actually. Which we obviously, if you were to take around mental health, that's one of the parts of it. Obviously, you wouldn't create a whole program around mental health because you will go bonkers. But it is something that you can, in terms of relevance, for something that you could deliver in this country by getting specialist speakers in and people involved in it, lots of different people and activities, much more easily here than you would be able to do that in Venice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great stuff.
Excited to be representing you, Bill.
Thank you too, Nikki. Well, great. Well, thanks for your time, everybody. It's been really good. We will send this presentation, and you'll be glad to know we've recorded this video for future posterity.
Yeah, right.
So we'll be sending that around as well. So have a great weekend, everybody.
Yeah, lovely to see you.
Chin up.
Okay, so bye, Grant. Bye, Laura.
Bye.
Have a lovely weekend.
We're just hoping it's not coming the other way.
Don't ever say it.
Yeah.
It's all
All
good.
right. Cheers, guys. Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Actually, I had about 30 that said we had about 25%. That's okay. It's actually.
People still on.
Oh, yeah.